Hey everyone, so October was a super busy month, so I never got around to filming my September wrap up, and I got to now, it's beginning of November, and I just read too much in October to combine the two, so I'm just gonna do two separate videos. I'll probably be wearing the same thing in both, but that's fine. So these are the books that I read in September. I was focusing on series in September because Krista from Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand were doing a readathon called Series September. I like to participate in that so that I can like continue some series, maybe finish some things. And I did end up doing 4 books that are part of series and then 1 book that wasn't. And I had some other series that I was reading, but they didn't get finished until October. So I guess I'll just talk about those in my October wrap up. So the only thing I read that was not a series was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Oh, and I'll just say everything I read was 4 stars or 5 stars. So really great reading month. I had read this with my best friend. We are, over the past several years, we've been reading like some classics together and we take our time with them. I don't remember how many months this took to read, but we just kind of take our time, chat on the phone every couple weeks, wherever we are. And I just never read Jane Eyre. I had seen the movie a long time ago and never read the book. So I knew like kind of the main plot points and like kind of like the big reveal and all that stuff, but I had never actually read the book. And we both really enjoyed this. So there were parts of it that like I don't love. I wouldn't like say that this is like romantic. I think a lot of people think that, say that it's romantic. I don't find it romantic, but I just really love following Jane. And both of us, my friend and I, just the whole time we were like, we love Jane as a character. She's not always like perfect, but that's kind of the point. She has flaws. She has like times when she's really stubborn, and that ends up leading to things going wrong in her life because she's like determined to do things a certain way. But she's just always interesting. Like I really enjoyed following her as a character. We're following her a lot of different points of her life, starting when she's young and the way her family has treated her as she's like an orphan living with her like aunt and cousins and how they're treating her, and then her time in school, and then when she goes to Mr. Rochester's house to be a governess, and us, I just really liked her at every single point and found her interesting to follow. And even when I didn't always agree with her, I enjoyed being in her story and following her. I really liked the gothic aspects of when she was at, is it called Thornville? Wherever Mr. Rochester lives. I really liked the gothic feel of those scenes. And those parts were probably the most interesting for me, not because of Mr. Rochester, but because of the like kind of feel of that time that she was living there. There was like a little time in the last third where I was kind of losing interest a little bit, but never in Jane, just in kind of where the story was going. But ultimately, I really enjoyed this by the end. Gave it 4 stars. I wouldn't say like any of her romantic interests were good enough for Jane, but if Jane's happy at the end, then I'm glad Jane's happy, because I enjoyed following her process and I enjoyed a lot about this and reading it with my friend and discussing it. And then all the rest of the ones I read were series. I did finish a series that I've been reading over the last year. This is Mastiff by Tamora Pierce, and this is the last in the Becca Cooper trilogy. And this trilogy just, I don't know how to describe it, because when I'm reading them, they feel very long. Like this is, I don't know, probably 600 pages. I listened to this one on audiobook and it was like 20 some hours, like 25 hours, something like that. It felt like I was listening to it the entire month of September, which I think I pretty much was reading it or listening to it over the whole month. But I'm just so invested in Becca and her life, even though sometimes not a lot is happening in these. They're very slice of life, and that's kind of the point. They're written in journals, so we are following Becca, who, through this whole series, she is becoming, it's basically like the police of this world. They're called the Dogs, and they, patrol the town, and they have like an area that they're, protecting and all that stuff. And in this one, she does travel, which I usually don't like a travel book. And there's a lot of traveling in this one. And I was still just so invested in Becca and her journey. You know, she definitely matures over the series. In the first one, she's like brand new, kind of like she's going through the academy or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they actually call it. It's not called academy, but kind of like she's going through the police academy before being a dog. And the second one, she's like an established dog and is like, you know, just doing her job. And in this one, there, you know, same thing. She's been in that. She's no longer like an apprentice. She's actually like a full-on dog. And yeah, I feel like I'm not explaining it very well. It's just like, they're just like police or guards or whatever. And yeah, I just love following her, and not a lot happens. There's always like kind of a mystery. In this one, there's a mystery going on. There's also a little romance in this one. She's got her dog, her scent hound, because like she's kind of in charge of the scent hound for the group. And she's got her cat that is also like not really a god. He's called a constellation, and the cat talks to her too. Yeah. I love Becca. I love her like animals. There's lots of interesting side characters, not always the same ones in each book because they're in a different location, but I always feel like invested in learning about the side characters. And even though these are really big books, and I think going into them, I'm like, oh, am I gonna like this one? And then I end up liking it a lot. So 4 stars. They are a bit long, so I don't give them necessarily 5 stars because I think they probably could have been shortened down, but still a solid series, and I'd recommend it. And you don't have to have read any of the other like Tortall books to have read that one, but there is a link to the Song of the Lioness Alanna series, which was fun and made me want to like go back and read the Song of the Lioness like after reading that one, because now I know what the connection is between that and Alanna's story. And okay, moving on. I started a couple series in September, and one of the ones I started was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was also a 4-star, and this was just fun. This was one of those that like I had heard of this it's gone around, you know, BookTube in the past or Instagram or whatever, and you know, it's YA kind of mystery drama, I would call it, kind of just drama, and it was exactly what I wanted, just something that I could read really quick and fun, and there's games in it, and yeah, and very soapy kind of drama. We're following this teenager who, Avery, who she is her mother had died, and she's living with her older sister, and things are not going very well in her life. And then all of a sudden she's told that she has inherited this like billionaire's whole estate, and she doesn't like know who this billionaire is. She's never met him. And then he has like four grandsons. No, I can't remember. I think there's 4 of them, right? And they're all like, why is she inheriting everything? Who is this girl and where'd she come from? And so she has to live in the like mansion in order to keep the inheritance, and with all of these, you know, guys who don't know who she is or what she's doing in their home, basically, and with their money that they thought they should inherit. So it's just fun drama, and I enjoyed it. I do want to continue on to the next one in the series. I did go out and buy the next one right away because it was fun, good time. Not anything deep, really, just fun to read. And then I reread one that I loved in the past. I reread Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, the second in the Hunger Games. I had read this one because I'm like kind of going back and forth, and because I wanted to read the prequels, and so I had read The Hunger Games a few months ago, and then I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then I read this one, and then after this one I wanted to read the other prequel, which I have started, but I haven't finished it yet. So that was kind of my plan. And then after I read Sunrise on the Reaping, I'll read the last Hunger Games book and return to those. This is 5 stars. I love this series. I just think it's, you know, it's definitely iconic for its time period. It's still entertaining to read. I think Catching Fire has always been my favorite because we still get the games, but then we get the greater political things going on and rebellion and all that stuff happening at the same time, and new characters, new favorite characters coming in. So yeah. And also the trauma from the past games that all of the characters are having and the results of that. I think all of it is really interesting. So Catching Fire will always be 5 stars. Really enjoyed my reread of that. And the last book I want to talk about is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. This is another start of a series I had read for Series September. It's another big one. This was like 500 some, and this was on my like big books to read this year as well, so that helped me like read one more. And I loved this. This is 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a Goose Girl retelling, which is told, if you know the Goose Girl story at all, it's like about a princess and a maid that like switch places, and usually it's told from the princess's point of view, who becomes a goose girl and how she like, you know, gets her name back and all that. Where this is following the maid, and the maid is a con woman. Like she is like, you know, pulling all like from the very beginning, you're like, she's in the middle of pulling a con, and we're like watching her do that. And then we get the story of how she got to be like the princess, like, so she is pretending to be the princess. And yeah, it was just really fun, and also really good characters. Like when you're reading the like original Goose Girl story, you would never think that you would sympathize with the maid, but this, like, you know, we're actually following the maid and seeing her motivations and liking her as a person. I really enjoyed following her. What's her name now? I'm really bad with character names. Totally lost her name. But yeah, I loved following her. All the side characters that were coming into her life were kind of, it's kind of a mystery as well. We're figuring out some things that are happening at the time. And there is like an investigator that's coming, and she's like worried because she's worried the investigator is going to find out all the lies that she's had. And then like, the investigator is really interesting to follow. So yeah, all of the characters were really great. The interactions, the whole, I don't know, I just really enjoyed following our main character. I don't even know, like, I feel like I can't talk about books anymore. I don't know what I'm saying, but I just really enjoyed this. I loved like every aspect of it. I love the ties that when it would go, like even the ending kind of like went back to some of the elements from the fairy tale, which I really enjoyed. Like it still pulled in elements, pulled in like the horse. So some of the things that were kind of big points of the fairy tale, it brought it in different ways. And I really enjoy when a retelling does that, where you still get some of those elements that harken back to the original, but it's a completely new story, and you know, you're not sure which way it's gonna go, even though it's taking in some of those aspects of the original. So really enjoyed everything about this, and I am excited to continue on the series. This did feel like a complete story, so I think you could read this and stop if you're not like one that wants to like read series. From what I can tell, it seems like it's going to be a little more episodic. Yeah, there will be like overall growth in the main character, but this felt like a complete story in itself, and so I wasn't like needing to start the second one immediately, but really enjoyed following this character, so I do want to read the next ones. And that's it. So I didn't read a lot in September, but I have like a lot in October. So wanted to make sure we kept those separate, and you'll see the October wrap up at some point soon as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye.